On a pitch-black night when the moon vanished from the skies of Memphis, the royal palace became a tomb of secrets. The elderly King Anedjib lay in his chambers, gasping for his final breaths, but the air in the room was poisoned with treachery. In the deepest shadows stood Prince Semerkhet, his eyes reflecting the cold flame of a nearby torch. He did not watch his predecessor with grief, but with a fierce, burning impatience to seize the throne. The transition of power in the first dynasty was about to be sealed not by divine right, but by an ultimate act of betrayal. Prince Semerkhet forcefully ascended the throne, declaring himself the seventh ruler of Egypt's glorious first dynasty. He wore the sacred double crown, but the heavy gold could not mask the profound paranoia etched into his sharp features. The high priests and noble statesmen looked upon him with silent suspicion, whispering of an illegitimate coup in the dark. Semerkhet knew that as long as the memory of King Anedjib remained pure, his own crown would never be secure. From his very first day on the throne, fear turned the new pharaoh into a ruthless tyrant. Semerkhet realized that taking the crown was not enough. He needed to completely rip his predecessor's existence from human memory. He issued a brutal royal decree that shocked the kingdom, sending royal sculptors into every sacred tomb, temple, and treasury. Armed with sharp chisels, they were ordered to violently scratch and scrape away Anedjib's royal sarek from every monument and stone jar. In their place, Semerkhet commanded his own name to be carved over the ruined stone, initiating the first massive campaign of historical erasure. He intended to leave Anedjib a nameless ghost, completely forgotten by time. The royal workshops turned into factories of historical destruction as hundreds of sacred stone vessels were altered by force. Scribes who had once recorded history with honor were now forced to become complicit in its systematic falsification. Every chiseled line was an act of political warfare, a desperate attempt by Semerkhet to validate his controversial reign. The court officials watched in absolute terror as centuries of tradition were shattered by the whim of a paranoid king. Yet, no matter how deep the chisels cut, the truth remained buried just beneath the surface. But history proves that blood and betrayal can never lay the foundation for a stable and prosperous empire. Soon after the names were erased, an ancient and terrible curse fell violently upon the sacred land of Egypt. The legendary historian Manetho later recorded that Semerkhet's reign was struck by a massive, cataclysmic disaster and a devastating plague. The mysterious disease swept through the Nile Valley like wildfire, claiming the lives of thousands of innocent citizens within weeks. The terrified population and the priesthood openly muttered that this pestilence was the furious wrath of the gods. Inside the dim palace, the air grew thick with dread as the cries of the dying echoed through the gates. The high priest bravely entered the throne room, his hands trembling as he confronted the furious, isolated pharaoh. He warned Semerkhet that the gods of Egypt were rejecting his offerings because of the sacrilege committed against the rightful king. Semerkhet's response was swift and merciless, banishing anyone who dared to connect the plague to his bloody ascension. But isolation could not protect the king from his own mounting madness as the kingdom crumbled around him. Egypt quickly transformed from a land of order into a chaotic battleground of civil unrest and bloody rebellion. Driven by starvation and fear of the divine plague, the northern provinces rose up in open defiance against the capital. Semerkhet found himself fighting a war on two fronts, against the invisible disease and against his own furious subjects. He could no longer trust his closest advisors, nor the very guards who protected his royal bedchamber at night. He spent his remaining days locked away, a terrified prisoner of his own endless paranoia. Semerkhet's turbulent and curse-ridden reign came to an abrupt end after barely 9 short, bloody years. But the terror of his rule did not stop at the palace gates, it followed him straight into the afterlife. He was buried in a massive, imposing tomb at the sacred site of Abydos, designed to reflect his absolute authority. Yet, the true horror lay in the architecture surrounding his final resting place, which revealed his ultimate fear of the dark. Semerkhet refused to enter the underworld alone, demanding a sacrifice that would shock future generations. Surrounding his central burial chamber were 52 subsidiary graves, built perfectly in alignment with the king's resting place. Historical evidence suggests that 52 loyal servants, concubines, and royal guards were buried alive alongside their dead pharaoh. They were forced into the darkness to protect a paranoid master who feared facing the judgment of Osiris by himself. This horrifying ritual marked one of the final and most extreme instances of mass human sacrifice in Egyptian history. Semerkhet took his court into the grave, believing he had successfully secured his eternal legacy. Semerkhet believed that the cold stone would keep his secrets forever and that Anedjib was lost to time. But thousands of years later, in a brightly lit modern laboratory, science finally shattered the ancient pharaoh's grand illusion. Using advanced microscopes and digital scans, archaeologists analyzed the scratched surface of the excavated stone vases. Beneath Semerkhet's deeply carved name, the faint, original lines of Anedjib's royal Serek emerged like a ghost from the past. The stone did not lie, exposing the first dynasty's greatest royal betrayal and proving that history can never be truly erased. Betrayals, curses, and dark secrets hidden beneath the desert sands. If you are obsessed with the real, raw, and untamed history of ancient Egyptian kings, don't let their stories fade away. Hit that subscribe button right now, turn on all notifications, and join us as we resurrect the ancient world, one pharaoh at a time.